All right, guys, it looks like I am live. At least I hope I am. I hope this is working out because we got a lot going on, and I am streaming on YouTube right now. The stream will officially start in a minute, but I wanted to double check and make sure. Looks like I am live. Okay. I double checked on my phone. I got the alert and everything. Sometimes me and technology do not get along. But if you are joining in, welcome. I'm weather and radar meteorologist Mary Mays, and I'm here because there's a lot of stuff going on with the weather right now. And if you look at our weather radar, you got some snow and rain around Albuquerque there. It's been pretty wet and snowy, actually, in Arizona and in New Mexico. You got a little cluster of storms near Wichita Falls in Texas, also just southwest of Springfield, Missouri. These little storms here are packing a bit of a punch, got some hail, got some wind with those, but for the most part, we're relatively quiet for now. And when I say for now, I mean for now, because look at this. This is our severe risk for today, and I'm actually going to move this over to the side so you can hopefully get a better view. We have a moderate risk. That's level 4 out of 5. That's a big deal, and this is for the Ark-La-Tex region, and this goes pretty far into Texas. So what happened was the Storm Prediction Center had an update, and they've actually elongated a little bit, so it stretches a little further into Texas now. It includes the Dallas-Fort Worth metro. That's a big area, a lot of people there. And, all the way down into central Texas, the Waco area under an enhanced risk. This risk extends into southwest Arkansas, northwest Louisiana, includes cities like Lafayette and that southeast corner of Oklahoma. You're in that moderate risk. But the enhanced risk, which is level 3 out of 5, stretches into Memphis, Tennessee. It includes western Mississippi. Lots of folks are in this, and that slight risk, goes through San Antonio and Houston, all the way into Jackson, Tennessee. So there's a lot of folks that are kind of in the risk area for severe weather today, and things are really going to start to heat up soon. Even as we head into tomorrow, we're still going to be looking at a pretty big risk for severe weather. But today, just looking at this, let's talk about the threat level and just kind of break it down, because all kinds of severe weather are going to be possible with this. We've got a tornado risk, a pretty significant tornado risk. So 10% chance in yellow there that you're going to see a tornado within 25 miles of where you're at. So if you're in Dallas, that means within 25 miles of Dallas, you could see a tornado. And there's a chance that it could be a strong tornado. That's EF2 and above. So that's a powerful, violent tornado. It's going to be possible. And that risk goes from the Dallas-Fort Worth metro into Little Rock. So it's a pretty sizable tornado risk. And even, that 5% area that includes, kind of Waco's on the border of that up through Memphis, you need to be weather aware. You need to be paying attention. And this is going to be the case also with winds gusting upwards of 70 miles an hour. And that's the case in Dallas into, Little Rock. These statistics, it just gives you an idea of how big your severe weather threat is. And if you're in Ark-La-Tex, if you're in central Texas, if you're all the way, even into the Memphis area, your risk is pretty big with this. And you've got a big hail threat as well, especially around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, including Abilene, Wichita Falls. I don't know why I have trouble saying Wichita Falls. Southeast Oklahoma, even into Little Rock. Pretty good chance of some big old hail. We're talking up to baseball size, maybe even greater. That can really do a lot of damage. I've seen, homes and vehicles. Vehicles can be totaled by large hail. It can be really serious business. So that's what we're looking at right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the timing for today with our weather radar. So we've already had some thunderstorms breaking out in Texas, Oklahoma, and this is going to continue as we head into the next few hours. So this is 8 o'clock tonight, and you can see those storms really getting going around Dallas into the Little Rock area. So it's going to be this evening into tonight where we have that greatest risk for, those powerful storms. And really, it's kind of this little location here from central Texas, kind of moving through Shreveport, Little Rock through Memphis. I would say this circle that I'm kind of indicating here, southeast Oklahoma, this is where you're going to have that biggest risk for those really, violent tornadoes and really large hail and damaging winds, and a flash flooding risk with any of these areas seeing rain. That's another issue we have. So it's a lot to keep up with. Make sure you have your alerts turned on your weather radar app, and please just be paying attention tonight. This is after dark. A lot of folks are trying to sleep, and that's a big problem, especially in the Little Rock area where these storms are still going until late tonight. Same thing in Shreveport. Shreveport, you're not really going to see the bulk of the action until 11 o'clock midnight or so, and that's the case in Little Rock. And then you see these storms continuing through tomorrow through 6 o'clock into the Memphis area. So Memphis, it is going to be a rough morning commute, probably a rough morning commute in Jackson, Mississippi. So that's what we're looking at. Now let's switch our focus to what's happening on to Friday. So this afternoon, this evening, into about 6 a.m. tomorrow, that's when we have that moderate risk for severe weather. So these outlooks go until 6 a.m. the next day. Now let's take a look at, this is new. So I was actually, this is an update. This is brand new information right here. I was actually talking to my husband a little earlier today saying I might go storm chasing tomorrow, and I am a professional meteorologist and well trained, so I can do that. I live in Nashville. And I was telling him, like, hey, between Nashville and Bowling Green, I think is going to be a pretty good chase area for me tomorrow around lunchtime. And sure enough, look at that. We've got the enhanced risk now. That's level 3 out of 5 in place. And this extends all the way north into Louisville. I'm probably not going to drive that far north into Kentucky. But yeah, that's because the tornado risk is there tomorrow. I think last time I checked, it was a 5% risk. This is for tomorrow. So it's still 5% there. Damaging winds are going to be really possible. Our weather radar, our wind radar, let's just go ahead and walk you through, because tomorrow is, you will notice here, not much of a hail threat, but wind and tornadoes, that's what we're concerned about, especially the wind tomorrow. So you see these storms continuing to just kind of push through into the morning hours. It's going to be a really rough morning for, Middle Tennessee up through Kentucky and to Georgia into the Carolinas, and you'll see those storms continuing to push east into the afternoon and evening. And that risk really includes, Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, Eastern Tennessee into tomorrow, but the wind risk is going to be a big deal. Birmingham, Atlanta, Chattanooga, you're included in this, Cincinnati, this extends up into the Ohio Valley, and you got some wind even on the coast for, Savannah and Charleston, up through Wilmington, Virginia Beach even. So the wind risk is going to be a big deal tomorrow. So I'm actually going to show you this because it's pretty darn incredible. Look at that. So we're going to wind the clock back because this is just kind of insane to me. So this is 6, 7, 8 o'clock, a really windy morning. If you got a high profile vehicle, you've got 60 mile per hour winds in Memphis at 9 a.m. tomorrow, 65 by 11 o'clock. And look at Nashville. Yeah, 70 mile per hour wind gusts. And that's why the Storm Prediction Center has just updated this risk level right here to the 30% risk of very gusty, damaging winds within 25 miles of, Bowling Green, Louisville, Nashville. So that area matches up perfectly with what wind radar is showing. So heads up, tomorrow is going to be windy as heck. So that's what we're looking at for the severe weather threat into tomorrow. So I think we've covered that pretty well. Have multiple ways to get warnings. Keep it here. Turn your alerts on your weather and radar app. That is so important. But that's just the warm side of this system, believe it or not. We've got more to talk about. We have snow on the side of this, on the cold side of the system. So we're going to wind the clock back to tomorrow at 4 a.m. And notice as all that moisture surges north, temperatures are still pretty warm comparatively. It's going to be heavy, wet snow for the Midwest into the Northeast because look at those temperatures, 34 degrees in Chicago. So that's cold enough, just cold enough to get some heavy, wet snow. And it's going to be heavy, wet snow in a wintry mix to begin with. So you see that starting up tomorrow afternoon in the Midwest, and then it really starts to expand from looking at, that southeast edge of Wisconsin into Illinois, into Michigan. This is going to include Detroit. Detroit's going to get messy. And this extends into Pennsylvania, into New York, and it'll eventually move up into the Northeast. And this is kind of a complex interplay. So what you see is this low pressure. This is what produces the severe weather. this is that storm, so there's a lot of dynamic support behind this. So you got the heavy snow. You can see snowfall rates between 1 and 2 inches per hour, along with those incredibly gusty winds I just showed you. That's whiteout conditions. It's going to be hard to drive tomorrow, especially in the afternoon. So Chicago, Detroit, Milwaukee, that is a not so fun afternoon commute for you folks, evening commute, and even in, areas in northern Pennsylvania and southern New York. It's going to be pretty rough for you folks in Scranton if you work at a paper factory or paper. I'm trying to make an office joke and it's not really coming out very well. But you guys get the drift. But yeah, you see this into the nighttime hours. It's just kind of freezing rain and sleet in Scranton. In New York, you start out with rain and that freezing kind of drizzle mix, and you might pick up a little bit of snow. But Boston, you're going to pick up some decent snowfall with this. So this continues into Saturday for the Northeast and New England. Let me go back. So this is right at midnight, and you can see it's getting quite snowy. And what we're going to have is a secondary low pressure system. So you got this big low right here over the Great Lakes, and then you'll have another one trying to develop offshore. And that's going to have an impact on the forecast. If that low develops a little faster or is a little stronger than expected, you might have more snow in New York City, and maybe even down through Philadelphia. Boston, you might see a little bit more than expected. So it's going to depend. In terms of those big Northeast cities that are going to see the snow, I think it's mainly going to be Boston with a little bit in New York. You'll probably see about an inch or two in New York, probably 4 to 6 in Boston. And this includes, snow in Portland up through Bangor in Maine. And this continues into the rest of your Saturday before kind of finally kicking out here. You'll see some lingering snow, but it'll be done with and you'll get that low pressure off the coast. So there's still some question marks with that. I'm actually going to be with you on Saturday, so I'll be able to do another hopefully YouTube live just to give you some more updates on that part of the forecast. There's still some question marks, but I think we have a pretty good handle on what's going to happen, at least with where the snow is going to be heading. But, Chicago, Detroit, I would say Friday into early Saturday, Grand Rapids, prepare for travel on the roads, prepare for some airport delays, Chicago O'Hare, that sort of thing. Cleveland, you'll likely run into some issues as well. Looks like Cleveland's going to see kind of that weird wintry mix, and also you'll see rain and then a little bit of snow on the back end. That could be a big issue. And then also it's just going to be a little messy for a lot of folks. And we have all sorts of warnings all over the place. We've got winter weather advisories right now still, and winter storm warnings in New Mexico, where the winter storms kind of come into an end for you folks. You're going to have some pretty big fire weather conditions behind the low pressure that's bringing us the severe weather threat. So West Texas, don't like anything. Be extremely cautious. We have is that a gale warning? What is that? Okay, no, that's the severe thunderstorm watch. I was like, what is that? Okay. So some of these colors are a little too similar from that the National Weather Service uses. But we've got widespread wind advisories. It's going to be just incredible how much is going to be going on today, tomorrow, even into Saturday and Sunday. This is a big, powerful storm. In terms of snowfall amounts, the exiting system that's over Maine, or at least was this morning, they had a little bit of snow. They're looking at 2 to 4 inches. Today, maybe 5 in some spots. So that's through today. And then this next system, notice, we're looking at possibly up to like 6 inches in Chicago with this. Detroit, I would say probably 2 to 4. You're going to pick up 6 to 7, maybe even 8 in Grand Rapids. Northern New York, upstate New York, from Albany north, you're going to get possibly the most, up to about a foot in that area. And then interior Maine, Vermont, looks like, the mountains there, Mount Washington, you could pick up, 18, 19 inches. So up to about a foot and a half of snow with this. That's a big old snow producer. And I know Boston is kind of that area. I think you're going to see 2 to 4 inches, at least on the north side of the city. Now, if you're right there in downtown Boston, you might not be as lucky, but I do think the Boston area is going to see a pretty decent amount. Now, New York City, probably not going to see all that much. We're hoping, I know that you haven't seen a ton this year, but you could see a wintry mix, maybe up to an inch of accumulation. So that is the wintry part of this forecast. There's just so much going on right now. in terms of the weather. Keeping an eye on Wichita Falls in southwest Missouri. So far, things haven't really started sparking off just yet, but that severe weather threat today, it's a big deal. And the wind threat, but also the flooding threat as well. We're looking at 2 to 4 inches and then even up to 6 inches in some spots of rainfall through tomorrow morning. So not only are you dealing with that big threat for tornadoes and hail and wind, it could also be accompanied by flash flood warnings and likely will be. That's a bad combo. So we're going to do our best to keep you updated. Download that weather and radar app if you haven't already, because it really comes in handy. It can help so much. And please stay safe. Thank you for joining in on this Facebook Live. So I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all goodbye.